Hello and welcome back to the CrewMachine tutorial series. This tutorial is going to focus on a very important element of content production, and that is your creative brief. What is a creative brief? Well, a creative brief is what tells the people working on any kind of creative project what they're doing and how to do it without encroaching on their creativity. So let's look at an example. I'm going to go to my other project called Hello World, where I have loaded up some content already to work with as a demonstration. And I'm going to go down to this on-site blog named Fall Color Report, and I'm going to show you what a creative brief looks like. So a creative brief, it gives information like what the objective of the content is, what overview, how it should be organized, how long it should be, how it should be encoded. It also gives you a place to talk about the persona to which you are marketing. So in this case we're marketing to the persona Stylish Sarah, and you can upload specific information about this persona that you would like your creative team to know as they are creating content. That's pretty cool, right? So how do you create this? Well, CrewMachine has a tool right here in the platform under the project management desk where you can create a creative brief. So again, you just go to settings, project management, and you click creative brief, and then you click the new brief button and you are in the create brief form. So as you scroll down the page, you'll see there's all sorts of inputs you can work with. Some of these you can input multiple points of data. Some of these are designed to accept text. And then down here you can also upload a document to support the creative brief that you create above. So you have lots of options available to you. I'm going to take a minute to go through each field and kind of give a high-level overview of the intent behind each, so that when you actually create your own creative brief, you'll understand what you're doing and the benefits of each particular field. So obviously the brief name is where you enter a name that both makes sense to you and to anybody else that's going to be using it. In this case, I'm going to build out a brief for product descriptions. In the objectives and goals, this is where you want to help your team understand what it is that you're trying to get out of each particular page they write, each particular product description. And magically, you look on your screen and you'll see that I have created some sort of description to go into the objectives and goals field. So with a product description, you want to highlight the features and benefits of each product. You want to highlight its key specifications. You want to make it easy for the reader to understand what the product is and scenarios where the product would be a good option to use. So now we're into the overview. This is kind of like objective goals, but a little bit different. This is something that you might want to use to describe the brand that you're working with, or the family of products that you're working with, or some other detail that people need to know on a high level. For instance, each of these new products features cutting-edge technology that has not been widely available before, so your task is to promote the new technology without coming across as overly technical or unapproachable. Again, the overview is totally in your control, so use it as you see fit. Pro tip is just to keep it high level. Content type. This is where you're going to define what type of content you're creating, and it's going to make that very clear in the creative brief. Content description. This is where you can describe at a more granular level what the task is. Now if you look, you'll see that there's a content description, an example of something you might put in here. 1 to 2 paragraphs with a list of bullet points to highlight key features, written in inverted triangle format. Bullet points are feature only and less than 10 words each. So we have something more granular here for the creative team to look at, latch onto, and duplicate. Length, this is where you might provide your word count. HTML and layout guidelines. So if you have specific formatting requirements, this is where to explain that to people. And if you don't, then you would just simply put in no formatting requirements. Do's and don'ts. This is a really cool feature within the Creative Brief, and you'll notice that you have a few different points that use this same feature. So with this you can add and subtract points that will show up on the list. And just if you would like to remember what that looks like, take a look at this page right here, and you'll see that they show up with little check marks next to them to help indicate and help draw attention to the points that you're putting in here. So back over to here, you would enter in your do's and don'ts, and of course a pro tip would be to add the word do or don't before what you're going to say. Another pro tip, keep it very short and sweet. These are the kinds of things that you want a creative team to be able to scan down and quickly absorb. These are best when they're short, simple, sweet, and not complex. So let me input a few. I'm going to go ahead and pause for a moment, and when I come back it'll magically look like I've filled the screen with do's and don'ts. And magically we have do's and don'ts filled in. So for instance, do explain the key benefit of each feature. Do use adjectives and adverbs to describe the products. Do focus on the most unique and important features first. Don't use trite or boring examples to explain benefits. Don't start each sentence with the product name or this product name, and don't focus on features that are universal to this product type. Moving on to personas, so you might recall that in the Creative Brief there is a section here that talks about personas. For instance, in this one that I showed you earlier, we have Stylish Sarah. So as you create the persona, you want to think about a few things. You want to think about demographics, and you want to think about what drives this person, what problems they face that would lead them to need your product or service or content. So I'm going to go ahead and create a persona. When you create a persona, the best practice is to actually give the person a name and some sort of adjective to describe that person. So for instance, I gave this persona the name Tech Loving Terry. Here's where you can upload an image. Obviously, if you're going to use somebody's face, make sure you have permission to use it, or download a stock image, or create an avatar. One of those two things. In this case, this particular image loads as the default. It's not always appropriate for every persona, so make sure that you are paying attention to that piece, because it does actually matter for your creative team. Now you get into the demographics. Now traditionally demographics are things like age, income, geographical location, those sorts of details. But when it comes to a persona, there are additional demographics, and the things that you want to input into there are things that, again, those problems that that person wants to solve that relate to what you're creating. So let me just input a few examples here. So at this point I've fleshed out a few demographics that might be associated with persona Tech Loving Terry. For instance, 25 to 40. He's male, loves consumer technology, he is his friends and family's go-to for technical questions, and now you want to think about what type of problems he's looking to solve. For instance, he always wants the latest technology, and another thing that this sort of persona is probably going to want, keeps up on the latest news about consumer technology. And you can add as many demographics as you need to flesh out your personas. Style and tone. So this is where you would talk about how the copy should feel, what sort of feeling somebody should get out of it. Whether it's an aspirational piece, whether it's a lifestyle piece, whether it's a technical piece. So here you might want to put semi-technical, but consumer friendly. And that would help to describe the style, or excuse me, the tone that you're looking for, and then you want to think about the style. It's pretty normal to see internet copy follow AP style, so if you're not sure what else to put in, that could be a good thing to include. There's lots of resources out there about AP style, specifically the AP style guide if you want to get real granular and understand what that means and what that entails. Otherwise, you can give that to your editorial team and expect them to do that. Point of view, this is an important one. Do we want the person to talk, the writer to talk in terms of I, me, my? Should it be in you, yours, and you could? Or should it be in they, theirs, and then third person? Second person is kind of the predominant style excuse me, the predominant point of view right now out there in the content market. Additional content requirements. So here's where you could put in additional information that people need to know. Again, this is very flexible, so use this as you see fit. And again, you can add and subtract lines. Keyword strategy. This is where you describe what the writers or creative team should do with the keywords. Are they researching their own keywords? So let's say research 3 to 5 relevant terms on Bright Edge. This might be a little bit of overkill for a 200 to 300 word product description, but again, it's your strategy. You can decide what you want to do. I'm just showing you some examples for how you can fill out your creative brief. Linking strategy. This is very similar to keyword strategy, where you're describing the strategy you would like people to use as they are building links. So if there's no links, make sure it's clear that there's no links. If you want to include links to relevant on-site content, you'd want to put that on here. That's a common requirement. So we'll just go ahead and add that here. There's a kind of standard linking strategy for you. Additional information, this is where you can fill in whatever else wasn't included above. Now there's another option here that you can use for the creative brief, and that's to upload additional information. So here's where you would add that in. This is going to show up as a new tab, so you would give it a new name. And this will show up right next to your creative brief. And you can either type in the content in here, or you can upload it as HTML. Whatever works for you. Then you just click Create a Brief, click Dismiss, and then you have your brief ready. Now to see what that looks like, you're going to need to add it to an item. So I'm going to go back over to the desk. I'm going to open a product page. I'm going to update that item. And then here I'm going to choose Creative Brief. And what's really cool is that once you have a bunch of briefs in here, you can just select them from the drop down. They automatically show up for you. You click Update, Confirm, and then to see how it looks, just click on it again. It loads in that view only. Ta-da! There is your Creative Brief. And if I had uploaded anything in the supporting documentation besides typing it directly, it would show up here. So thanks so much for watching. We hope this was a useful demonstration for how to use the Creative Brief in CrewMachine. Have a great day. Bye now.